the next steps. What happens? Because President William Ruto backtracked on his statements earlier about, perhaps overriding or ignoring court orders. But what happens in the event that he does and judicial orders are ignored? What's next? What recourse do Kenyans have? And, is the Law Society of Kenya prepared for such an outcome?
Let me put for you a grim picture. If court orders are disobeyed, we will not have a country. It will be chaos all over. And that is why it is absolutely important that we obey court orders. Obedience to court orders is an obligation to every government official, everyone who the court order is directed to. Can you imagine if the President Uhuru had disobeyed the Supreme Court order and refused to hand over power to President Ruto? Yeah, chaos.
Yeah.
We will be in a free-for-all, against all, chaos all over the place. That is why it is absolutely important to have a system that functions. And the three arms of government work on the basis, on the doctrinal basis of the principle of separation of powers. They have their mandate. The judiciary's mandate is to interpret the law and sometimes issue court orders where the executive has made mistakes, where parliament has enacted a legislation that is unconstitutional. It's up to the judiciary to make that determination. So with this functioning system, once it collapses, then there is total chaos all over.
What would be your advice or recommendations now that we have the petitions ongoing? What would be your advice to the president with regards to public interest matters in court already?
The president has
filed against the government.
The president has all the resources to hire the best lawyers in Kenya, East Africa, and the world to advise him on compliance with the constitution. All he needs to do is to hire good lawyers. If the Attorney General is not giving him proper advice, fire that Attorney General and get an Attorney General who understands the law. If the Solicitor General is not is not preparing him on the issues that are coming ahead, for example, the housing levy, the battle has just started. The mechanics of the implementation, you'll expect more court decisions. So we really need the government to be properly advised on the mechanics of the implementation of the various aspects of the manifesto insofar as the legal framework is concerned. Because once they breach the law, that gap will be noticed by Kenyans who will go to court. So one strategic way to avoid that mess is to have proper legal advisors.
Yes.
He shall not have legal advisors who tell him what he wants to hear. They shall tell him what he doesn't want to hear, whether it's unpalatable, he must hear it. So that's one of the gaps we've noticed. The government does not get quality legal advice, and then they end up making basic mistakes, which then are challenged in court. The second issue is that the president needs to have a conversation with the judiciary, in a structured manner. Have a conversation with the judiciary. Let them understand where you're coming from in a structured manner. For example, if you have concerns, what kind of conversations are you going to have with the judiciary? You forward evidence to the Judicial Service Commission if a particular judge is corrupt. That's the kind of conversation we need to have. Then the Judicial Service Commission picks it up, and then they investigate, and that judge is removed the same way they removed the other judge the other day, Justice Chitembwe. So it's absolutely important that the president listens to what the Constitution is telling him. That's absolutely important because he is the custodian of the rule of law. He swore to protect the rule of law. When Uhuru was handing over power, he handed him over to him a sword, which is symbolic, that he must use it to protect the sovereignty of Kenyans.
Not to attack.
Not to attack. So that's absolutely important. So he has no option but to go back to his oath of office and remember what he swore to Kenyans at Kasarani that day.
Thank you so much. This conversation has been very enlightening, and I'd love us to build on it perhaps in future. But thank you so much for spending the morning with us. That has been, of course, Peter Manyonge Wanyama of Manyonge Wanyama and Associates. And we've been, he's a legal compliance expert, and we've been talking to him about judicial independence, how to protect it, and where we are at now. Wacha nimpe makofi ka Olomide before we move on to the next hour. This is just something to give our guests to say thank you so much for making time for us this morning.